Boop. Happy Monday. Today is Monday, February the 15th, 2021, and today's daily Bible readings come to us from Psalm 110, 1 through 4, Exodus 19, 7 through 25, and then Hebrews 2, 1 through 4, and I'm going to look at the passage from Exodus. We're going to talk about the time when God came down the mountain. So, in the face of this impending meeting with God here in Exodus, and you got to remember, this is like the dramatic high point, right? The people, you'd think that there'd been a lot of dramatic high points already in Exodus, but this really is it, because this is the point. This is the whole reason why Moses was going to Pharaoh and saying, let my people go so we can go out in the wilderness and worship our God. This is the whole point. They're finally out there. They're with God in the wilderness. And God's about to finally have this big meeting with them, right? It's not going to be a Zoom conference. It's going to be face-to-face, sort of. And they're under strict orders to prepare themselves. They're under strict orders not even to go near the mountain until they're ready, until God tells them to. So in the face of this impending meeting with God, all the people of Israel were called to prepare themselves. The first thing that happens is they're consecrated by Moses, and that basically means they're set aside. Like, they're blessed and pointed at and said, you've got a special purpose here, don't screw it up. And so they were consecrated by Moses for this holy purpose. And, they cleaned up, they bathed, they cleaned their clothes, right? And they stayed away from things that might make them ritually impure for 3 days. Only then could they kind of begin to approach God. But here's the thing, even with all that work, there were still limits. You can work as hard as you want, I guess, to clean yourself up before you go meet God. But there's still limits, to what you can do, and just really how much you can justify yourself and sanctify yourself before the eyes of a holy God. Even with all this, there was still this limit. There was a boundary around the mountain that they could not cross. And God was very concerned about this, not just like, hey, tell them to back. It was more like, hey, please warn them that they can't, there's a boundary here and they can't cross that. I know they're curious. I know they want a good peek at me, but please tell them that that would not be a good idea and things would not go well for them that day. And so there's this limit, even though they've worked really hard to prepare themselves and to sanctify themselves and to justify themselves. In the end, there's this limit that they can't cross, for fear that lest, as the text keeps saying, the Lord break out against them. And in the end, the only people that were actually on the mountain, that got on that mountain with God, were Moses and Aaron. So it's interesting. There's this language, he keeps saying, like, lest the Lord break out against them. We're getting ready to enter this season of Lent, right? This Wednesday is Ash Wednesday. We're technically through tomorrow. We are still in the season of Epiphany, right? So, if you still have your Christmas decorations up, good on you. You're running out of time to take them down. But we're heading towards this season of Lent. Tomorrow's, Fat Tuesday for those of you who are really into New Orleans, stuff like that, Mardi Gras. But it's Shrove Tuesday, and it's this idea of getting ready, getting ready and preparing yourself and preparing your house, just kind of like the Israelites did here on the mountain, at the foot of the mountain, rather, getting ready to meet God, right? This idea that God is coming to meet with us and that we've got to prepare ourselves. But once again, there's a limit to how much you can really prepare yourself. There's a limit to how much you can self-justify, right? You can't really justify yourself, although we all try it time and time again, try to justify ourselves, justify our actions instead of letting God provide that. But we are getting ready to enter the season of Lent, and it is a season of preparation. Now, not just 3 days like Moses gave the people of Israel, but it's this kind of protracted season, like 5 weeks, in which we prepare because the Lord indeed is going to break out. And that's what we are moving towards, this unique time when God will break out in a very unique way. So, our ability to prepare ourselves is limited, just like the people of Israel. We can't clean ourselves up enough to stand on the mountain with a holy God, but we still have a responsibility to work it out, to work at it, right? God calls us to do that, but then he breaks out in a good way and meets us the rest of the way. So Lent, this season of preparing for God to break out, take it seriously. Give it a try. See what happens. Anyway, that's the DBR for today. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a good day. Boop.